Hello, thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio 99.1, 99.5. This is your news at noon. I am Kayla King, and these are the top stories we're tracking. GPL failed to maintain transmission lines in past 4 years, will intensify upgrades ahead of power generation boost, says President Ali. Disrespectful Gaisuko met with more protest action. ExxonMobil forges ahead with fiber cable in Stabroek block, and 2 charges for DJ who stabbed selector. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and now for the news in detail, let's tell you that GPL has failed to maintain its transmission lines over the past 4 years, a situation that has to be remedied immediately, according to Head of State President Irfan Ali. He was at the time addressing a simple ceremony at the office of the President to swear in a 4th Commissioner on the Public Utilities Commission, Dr. Nanda Kishore Gopal. The President is outlining the various functions of the PUC, which is empowered by the Public Utilities Commission Act, pointed out that the entity is also required to ensure that every public utility maintains its property and equipment in such condition that enables service that is adequate, efficient, non-discriminatory, and affordable and safe. In other news, sugar workers are of the view that Gaisuko has demonstrated to them and GAWU scant respect over stalled wages talks, leading to the industry being met with more protest action yesterday. This obtained when workers of the Albion and Blairmont estates downed tools to take part in the industrial action to show their dismay regarding the attitude of the Gaisuko top brass as it relates to protracted wage and salary discussions that date back to 2019. According to GAWU, the estate's workers are peeved that the Sugar Corporation has remained mum on the matter and have expressed the belief that the company is not treating the issue with seriousness required. Meanwhile, ExxonMobil Guyana, the operator with majority stake in the Stabroek block, is forging ahead with its drive to install its own fiber optic cable to support its Guyana offshore and onshore operations. As such, the company is currently looking to identify companies that can provide small boat and fishing liaison services locally to complement its offshore installation of subsea fiber cable in the nearshore environment. The company had announced the initiative some years ago with Exxon's local subsidiary ESSO in 2019, commencing activities for support services that will help in acquiring a permit for the network. In other news, Raw Gold, a part-time DJ who had allegedly stabbed his selector to the face during an argument in a local radio studio, was yesterday slapped with 2 charges. The defendant, Clyde Watson, popularly known as DJ Raw Gold of Southwest Cummings Lodge, Georgetown, appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Principal Magistrates Sherdell Isaacs Marcus. Watson was charged for allegedly assaulting a woman, Melissa Duke, on April 10th. It is alleged, too, that at the same location and on the same day, he unlawfully and maliciously wounded Marlon Williams. He pleaded not guilty to both charges and was granted $55,000 bail. The time is now 12 hours 5. Coming up after the break is repeat offender gets another fraud charge. Tushao robbed of 4.5 million boat and engine at Chinese landing. Application filed in High Court for release of SOPs, SORs in criminal case against Lowenfield and others. Guyana receives 3rd batch of Sputnik V vaccines. Do stay tuned.
It is here, the Wake Up Guyana program with your host, Tony from Myconi, Monday through Friday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Kaieteur Radio, FM 99.1 in Demerara and Essequibo and 99.5 in Berbice. The radio with a difference.
Welcome back. Before we continue, just a point to note that after the news, we will continue with the rebroadcast of the Glenn Lyle Show. Now on to the news. A 24-year-old businessman who had previously faced the court on multiple occasions for fraud-related charges yesterday made another court appearance after he was slapped with a new fraud charge. The defendant, Micah Sonoram, a North Rumvelt, Georgetown, appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan in the Georgetown Magistrates Court with his lawyer, Lachmi Rahamat. He pleaded not guilty to the charge, which alleges that on November 4th, 2020, while being solely entrusted with $7 million by Steve DaCosta to purchase and deliver one excavator, he fraudulently converted the money to his own use and benefit. Chief Magistrate McLennan granted the defendant bail in the sum of $50,000, and he is expected to make his next court appearance on May 10th, 2021. A Tushao of Chinese Landing Northwest District, Region 1, was relieved of his boat and 200 HP Yahama engine, both valued at $4.5 million between 18 hours on Sunday and 5 hours yesterday. In a police report, it was revealed that on Sunday around 16 hours, 29-year-old Oren Fernandez had secured his boat to a landing aback of his home, about 100 feet away, with a rope. This newscast was informed that this is a norm for villagers to do. Kaieteur Radio understands that the man went to make a check on his vessel at 5 hours yesterday when he discovered that his boat was missing. Instinctively, the man made several checks around Chinese Landing for his boat since he thought that it had drifted away. After searching for a while, the man was informed by persons in the area that the suspect, that a known individual had cut the rope that connected the boat to the landing. The suspect was reportedly seen heading up the Winey River in the vessel. Fernandez made an official report to ranks at the Aquero police station, and they are said to be investigating the matter. Meanwhile, an application has been filed in the High Court for the release of statements of polls and statements of return in relation to the March 2nd, 2020 regional and general elections. This application relates to the private criminal charges brought against GCOM officers over their alleged misconduct during the elections. At present, the Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield, the Deputy Chief Election Officer Roxanne Myers, and the Returning Officer for District 4, Claremont Mingo, are facing charges of misconduct in the public office in the Magistrates Court. According to the document drafted by lawyers Darshan Ramdani, Glenn Hanuman, and Ganesha Hira, who are among the list of prosecutors on the case, a request is now being made for an order from the High Court directing the registrar to make photocopies of the SOPs lodged in her possession by GCOM's CEO. As the national COVID-19 immunization campaign continued yesterday, a third batch consisting 83,000 doses of the Sputnik V vaccines arrived at the Chedi Jagan International Airport. This newscast understands that the government had purchased 400,000 doses at a cost of $8 million. These vaccines, it was revealed, are divided into two components. During his daily COVID-19 update yesterday, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony explained that Component 1 contains the first doses and Component 2 contains the second doses. He further explained that of the 83,000 doses that arrived yesterday, 43,000 are first doses. This now adds to the 55,000 first doses that were already received. It was revealed that the 40,000 remaining doses of the vaccine will be administered as second doses. On April 2nd, Guyana received its first batch of the Sputnik V vaccine, with a total of 25,000 doses coming into the country, while a second batch of 30,000 doses arrived last Monday. The time is now 12 hours 11. At this time, we give your COVID-19 update. Coronavirus cases worldwide are now at 143 million cases, whereas deaths are at 3 million, and in the case of recoveries, 121.5 million. On that note, the Ministry of Health yesterday reported 38 new COVID-19 infections, which pushed the country's COVID-19 case toll to 11,901. The 38 new infections are among the lowest numbers that have been recorded recently, given the case spike Guyana has been seeing these past few weeks. With 11,901 total confirmed cases and a daily average of 62 cases, Guyana may very well approach 12,000 cases before the end of the week. 13 patients are in the COVID-19 intensive care unit, another 10 in institutional quarantine, 77 in institutional isolation, and 1,294 in home isolation. Additionally, the total number of recoveries now stands at 10,246 after 66 new recoveries were recorded yesterday. The COVID-19 death toll remains at 271 deaths. That just about brings us to the end of our main newscast, but before we go, let us head over to page 7, dedicated to being blunt. Even as the COVID hospitals burst at the seams, government continues to operate as though it is doing a remarkable job of containing COVID-19. But in much the way the little child was brave enough to tell the emperor he was wearing no clothes, we at this publication are bold enough to let government know that it is not doing a perfectly splendid job in handling this contagion. Although we understand, and quite well too, that a healthy economy is needed to foster development, of what use will be such an achievement when all of our people are incapacitated or worse, dead? People are being infected in droves and the deaths are constant. As such, dear government, we ask of you, isn't it time that drastic measures are employed to save what's left of our declining population? That just about brings us to the end of your news at noon. I am Kayla King, and thank you for listening.
12 hours 13 in Guyana and right across the Eastern Caribbean. It is time for the continuation of the Glendale Show. Let's remind you that the Glendale